Welcome to Mad About Money. I'm Maddy Alexander-Grout, and this is the Mad About Money podcast where we talk to interesting people all about their interesting money stories. I'm joined by the lovely Claire Hill, who is a self-belief coach and founder of the Vivid Business Club. And that was a long one for me to get out, so I'm pretty
Well
impressed that I
done.
managed to do it. So, Claire, it's lovely to have you with us. Tell us
Thank
a
you
little
for
bit
having
about
me.
you.
So I am, Claire Hill. I have been running my businesses for about 5 years, but had a business beforehand. I left my career as an assistant head teacher teaching maths in a secondary school about 3.5 years ago. Been self-employed since. And this is officially my third career because I had another career before I was a teacher. I live in Kent. I'm almost 40. No, I'm not really. What a year, but like you get to 39. I'm 39 in like just over a week. So I'm basically nearly 40. I
I
feel really
yeah,
cool.
I hit 39 and I kept telling people I was 40 because it just sounded
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. Like 39. What's that? I'm excited to hit 40. Um, I've got a little boy called Jackson. He's 5. I've got a husband and I've got a boiler that's broken today. So
Oh
no heating or
no.
hot water. It's
Oh,
good. I'm very
rubbish.
grateful for my little office at the bottom of the garden that's electric heating.
I bet. I bet. So I mean, that's a first of all, there's a lot to unpick there. There is a like, I mean, I really want to pick your brains about maths in school and why personal finances are not taught in school because
No.
that's my massive belief. I feel like kids need to be learning about money.
Yeah. So, I mean, I love maths. And I think the reason why I love maths so much is because of the problem solving aspect of it. I think that's why I love coaching and running my membership so much because people will present an issue and I will find a solution. It's my creative way of creating a solution. And I see maths that way. A lot of people see maths as quite binary. So you either get it right or wrong. And I don't believe in
Mm,
that. I believe in you can get an answer right, but there's a million ways to get an answer right sometimes. Like, if especially I'm going to go right, I was going to talk about bid mathsing, but I won't go really into math. But there is a way, there's always a way to solve something. And I found it very fun to keep finding different answers or different ways to get to something. And I think that people have a binary attitude to it. So it's, I can't do maths, I can do maths, when potentially you just haven't had the right teacher or had the right approach to maths. And people never say, I can't do English. It's just sort of like a culture thing. I think that we are just have this opposing fear of maths, and it's not the maths, it's the fact that you can either get it right or wrong. But I don't believe in failure. I believe in only winning or learning. So when I was teaching maths, I very much was, and this like stuff that I teach now as a self-belief coach, like I'm really excited that you've got that question wrong, because when you get it right, you're never going to get it wrong ever again, because you're going to learn all of these different ways to approach that question, especially like with algebra and that kind of problem-based mathematics. And also that maths covers so many different topics. It's not just numbers. There's like, lots of other things. And allowing kids to say, like, for my students to be like, what's my superpower in maths, and exploring different types of maths, and then they find their superpower and what they love. Finances, there are finance courses now that are offered in, at sixth form level. But it's just like, and I'll say that a lot of the number based numeracy and percentage questions that you would have in the GCSEs, they do have a lot of finance context to them. So
yeah.
you will have that a little bit more. But when we were at school, I remember once somebody teaching me how to write a check, but that wasn't in maths. That was in like personal social relationships, whatever it is. I can't even remember what the subject was called now. And so it wasn't like I mean, I've got a theory about this when we're not really taught about money. I
Yeah.
mean, it's probably a little bit political, but
Okay, no,
if
go for
everybody
it. Let's go for it.
understand,
I love a political conversation.
if everyone understands finances, then the government hasn't got control of us. I mean,
So
I'm not.
true.
That sounds like I'm really like conspiracy lover, but I'm not. I'm just saying, like, if everybody was encouraged to run their own businesses and have control of their finances, where would we be as a society? So I think that there is a lot held back. And a lot of clever people that love to put smoke up their arse, sit there with their long words in about investments and stuff. And, you know, they use all these long words. It's like, mate, it's basically just percentages, compound growth. Like, don't have
Yeah,
to wishy-washy. You don't have to give me all of these long words to make you look more important than me, because that's where your status lies. But actually, it's just money, and money is energy, and everyone has access to it, and everyone should.
absolutely. Boom. That is yeah, absolutely. And I couldn't agree more. You know, with the government, I also think that they don't teach enough people to understand money, because then they don't then the people don't understand when the government fucks up so much,
Absolutely,
because
yeah.
they do all the time. And like, you know, the people in charge of the treasury and all of these people, they don't know what they're doing. And actually they don't know what we're doing, that what they're doing, we don't know what we're doing some half the time. And it's exactly the same, you know. It's that it comes down to that kind of bad or good at money. And people are not bad at money, they just don't have the education around it, and they don't know how to
Mm.
manage it as well. So it is that education piece, and it's about teaching children earlier, because you can actually put money and maths very, very closely together and
Mm.
make it more fun for kids, and then they
Yeah.
do have that knowledge growing up. So it's
Yeah,
very,
and I think about my son, like it's about the worth of understanding what money is worth and what it can give you. And since my little boy's been 2.5, 3, he has to earn his money. Now, I'm not like slave labor or anything, but if he wants a toy that is not his birthday and Christmas, we buy those chocolate gold coins you get at Christmas every year. Like, we buy loads, and then throughout the year he will do a job. So, say for example, we have team jobs. So, like laying the table, we've all got to eat, mate. So
yeah,
you do that. We're cooking. You know, you're not doing the dishwasher, but little things like you know, sweeping up, or maybe just sort of hoovering. I mean, he doesn't do it properly. You know, like little things around the house that he might do, he'll get a gold coin. If he helps me with the shopping, stuff like that, like little things. And so then when he goes out, one of these coins is worth 50p. So if he wants something, I'm like, absolutely, mate, it's your money. You can spend it on whatever you want, but you've got to pay me 5 coins. And then he's looking and he's trying to calculate how many coins he's got left. Is it worth it? So then at the moment, we've got one of them advent calendars. It's like a cloth one. So we put something in there every day
yeah.
because it's beginning of December. And he gets the gold coins for that. Some mornings he decides to spend them, aka eat them. Other mornings he decides to save them. And the fact
Mm.
that it's in his head that he has an option that he could save for something bigger and then get, you know, whatever. I also lend him coins. So he has the idea of investing in himself, debt, you
I
know.
like it. Yeah.
And I say, okay, that's absolutely fine. That's going to equate to this amount of coins. You then have to do this. And so then if he doesn't do it, I'll just take back whatever he's bought. Because I'm like, that's life. So it's those little things I think you can do at home. I find he's got more confidence around money, and he knows what that will give him, but
Yeah.
also what he's got to do to get it.
And that's probably teaching him massive willpower as well. Because I know if that was my
Yeah.
kids, I'm going to be like, here, ADHD children, have some chocolate coins. And they're going to be like, num, 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 num.
Yeah.
Because that's just what my kids do, because they are sugar addicts, and yeah. So I think that's really good. We operate the pretend paper money
Oh,
situation
love it.
in our house, which is very similar, but only because I know that my kids are chocolate addicts and they won't actually be able to save. But we do it with sweets every now and again. You know, I try, you know, we try and have like one day a week where they get sweets, and I'm like, you can have 3 things to the value of this, but it's up to you if you want to save them and spread them out over the week, or you can eat them all in one go and feel fat and guilty, you know, whatever. I mean, that's probably a bad analogy, because I actually would never make my children feel fat or guilty, but you know, you kind of get the gist,
Yeah.
don't you?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
It's also about delayed gratification. I had this conversation with
Yes.
my husband because I'm really good at it, but my husband is shocking. So I'm one of those people that will eat half a chocolate bar, save the rest for later, because I'm like, I've got that. It makes me feel really good that I've got it in the fridge. But
Yes.
that I think is also linked to like my childhood growing up with money. I didn't have anything. So just having something left
So
is really cool.
that
But
leads me on to my next question.
yeah,
So I was going to ask, what was your childhood like growing up with money or without money?
extreme poverty, and I sound really dramatic, but it was to the
Okay.
point where like we would run out of gas and electricity, no food in the cupboards, holes in the clothes. My dad died when I was 8, and my mum was pregnant with my little brother, and we had my younger 2 sisters as well.
Oh,
And
wow.
but before that, he drank very heavily and he smoked. He died when he was 39, just 2
Oh,
weeks before
wow.
he was 40. Yes, really young. And he he played in a band, he was a musician. And when I was born, we had a house. They owned a house, my mum and dad, and he decided one day. I mean, I can't check all of these facts are correct, really, because
Mm.
obviously he's not around. But that he was like, I'm done selling windows. He was just, window salesman, or kitchen or something like that. I've done doing that. I just want to play music. As a result, they lost their house, got repossessed, and so I was 6 weeks old, and we were homeless, and we
Oh my
lived
God.
in a caravan on a caravan site for a little while. Couldn't afford that. Then we moved in with my nan, my dad's mum. My sister was born, and then I mean, it's not a great time to have kids, is it, when you're homeless? But
No.
it was the 80s. And then so we had my sister while we was living at my nan's, and then we moved to a bed and breakfast where it's the same kind of style for bed and breakfast as it is now for families facing homelessness, where all the whole family is in one room, and it'll be like an HMO, so housing with multiple
Yeah,
occupancy. So
yeah.
you have like, and we lived like that for quite a while, and there was like 3 other full families. So you're in a house of like 16 people in that house with like 1 bathroom. So not ideal. Then my second sister was born. And then we had, as they do, the social housing, we got given a house. Well, it wasn't a house, actually, it was a masonette, so a flat.
Mm.
And we moved there when I was about 3, when my younger sister was born, and we lived there until my brother. So we've lived there for about 6-7 years, I think. No, maybe a bit longer, but that was like no garden. So I didn't have a garden till I was 11. I didn't have a
Uh,
phone till I was 11. Didn't have a washing machine till I was 9 or 10. So my mum had to wash all of the clothes in the sink. Then we had this like spinner dryer. Um, and I remember once we were in Quick Save. Remember Quick Save, the supermarket?
yeah.
We were in Quick Save, and I used to love writing, really, really loved writing. And because we didn't really have many toys. So I remember once my dad came home with like a pile of this yellow paper, and I just saw potential. I was just like, because a kid that's got nothing, paper is like gold. It's like, and it was yellow actually. So I was like so excited about this paper. And I'd make shoes with this paper,
Oh, wow.
bags that I took to school, my stuff to school in, wondered why they broke when it rained. I mean,
Oh,
um, I'd make these
entrepreneurial,
shoes.
though. I like that.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Like I would just make all this stuff. And yeah, so I was writing a lot. And then I remember being in Quick Save and seeing this pale pink and pale blue writing set, and thinking, oh my God, I wish I could have that. But saw the number 99 and thought it was £99. I thought my mum's never going to be able to afford that. Then I got it Christmas Day, and it was like my main present, 99p. I
Oh,
didn't realize. I know. So I did. It was tough, especially when my dad passed away, because my mum, though, in effect, we did end up with a little bit more money because my dad wasn't obviously drinking and smoking it all. We did. It was tough because how do you? And I mean, my dad was a really great guy. Like he was a showman, but he would go on benders for like 3 days in a row and like just leave us, and my mum would be left with a tenner for like to feed 3 children at that point. And I remember sometimes the gas and electric would go. We didn't have a car or anything like that. Didn't have a phone. So my mum would have to pack us all up at like 7 at night, or, it was dark, and have to go and get some electricity and gas. And it would just be only like a fiver because you couldn't afford any more. And I remember
mm.
having cold baths, and because it was better to be clean, it was just, but at the time, I suppose you don't realise until the kids started bullying, but it was tough, but I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful because tell you what, I bloody bank the wins all over the place. I'm like, I am so grateful for everything. I mean, like today, our boiler, woke up this morning and our boiler's not working. No hot water, no heating, absolutely freezing in the house. But I'm like, how grateful am I that I have money to get that boiler fixed? Even if we need a new
Yeah.
boiler, I'll work it out. I'm so grateful that I've got a roof over my head. My husband works with in rehousing in the local council, and he had to do something called sweep over the weekend, which is when you get the rough sleepers off the streets because it's too cold. They could potentially die.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, but we've got a roof over our head,
Yeah.
like that feeling and the stability that I've created for myself, that my house will never go anywhere. Like that is when you face homelessness at a really young age. I always felt like, are we even going to be here? And then I was homeless a few times when I was an adult. It's only not I wasn't sleeping rough or anything, but it was like I lost a tenancy because of some other thing. Then I had to move into somewhere else. Then they kicked me out. Then I had to move somewhere else and I couldn't live there. And I was like, I've got to buy somewhere. So I remember like, absolutely, I found the smallest flat. Like my flat was like the size of a postage stamp. I like just basically didn't eat for months so I could get this deposit together. This was before the crash. So you could get like 95% mortgages like that. Interest only, like prime of getting mortgages that
Yeah.
just collapsed the
Yeah.
economy. And I remember getting this flat and closing the door and being like, I'm never going to be homeless again. I'm never, ever going to be at risk of anything like that. And the safety it gave me was amazing. So the long and short of it, yeah, I've had tough stories about money. Yeah.
It's so interesting. I mean, I've been in a similar situation, the homelessness, not sleeping rough, but sofa surfing.
Yeah.
Essentially, I sofa surfed for a really long time. I got pushed into moving in with my boyfriend when we hadn't
Mm.
been together for that long.
That
But there
happened
was
to
no
me
one
too.
else,
Yeah.
but there was no one else I could go
Yeah.
to. And
Exactly.
then he broke up with me, and I was like, oh my God, where am I going to go? So I
Yeah.
moved in with my parents, and I went and stayed on friends' sofas. I've been homeless twice in that situation. I lived on a mattress in my friend's living room for about six
Mm.
months.
Mm.
And it was really tough, really,
Mm.
really tough because I had nowhere to keep my stuff. Like I was just going from place to place. And do you know what? During that time, I don't even remember where I showered. Like, I mean,
Mm.
I must have done, but I don't remember doing it. And it's a
Mm.
weird situation where I think like maybe my ADHD took over and I just thought, oh, screw it, I don't need to wash.
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
that sometimes happens. But yeah, it was horrible. Like I had a house fire.
Oh yeah, I
And
remember you saying, yeah.
yeah, so it was horrible. Like I was just forced out and I had no emergency fund. I had nothing. So I had to wait for the insurance money to come through for the stuff so that I could even find a deposit to get anywhere
Mm.
together. And it was a tough time, but yeah, but I don't think people really get that there are levels of homelessness.
Yes.
It's not just people sleeping on the street and sleeping rough. It's actually a really, really widespread problem that there is a housing crisis and people don't really get that. So
Yeah.
you started your life again then, essentially. You had your flat. What happened next?
So I was at the time, I'd gone through I'd gone through university, and I'd worked. So I left home when I went to university. I never went back to my mum's. Me and my mum don't have a very good relationship at all. So I just went and then went to got a job working for homeless families. That's
Oh,
the end
amazing.
of the career that I ended up going into. I'd been working with adults with learning disabilities for a few years, but out of uni, I went into working with homeless families, and then from that, I then was going to be made redundant. So that's when I got the flat and I was there and I was like, okay, what am I going to do next? And I feel when you're working with vulnerable adults, there is a key point that you can really make an impact. And it's not when
Mm,
they're an adult. And I thought maybe I could get into education. So I wrote 40 letters to schools across the county, and just said, look, I've got this really extensive background in health and social care. I've got a degree in health services management. I've Also, at the time, I had my little side hustle creative business, Violet and May. I used to make wedding and jewelry accessories. And I was like, okay, so I can do all of that. I can even teach business. I can teach maths. I love maths. And I just sort of pled the case. And one school came back to me and they said, we'd love to have you. And went for an interview, and I was unqualified for a year. But they matched my manager. I was a manager when I was being made redundant. And they matched my manager's salary. And I
Oh,
wasn't eligible
nice.
for redundancy pay because I mean, it's a health and social care manager. So I was on 21,000, I think, as a manager. This was like
Oh,
10,
wow.
12 years ago. Yeah, I know. So health and social care, you don't get paid very much. But I left there thinking, well, this is a new start. They're going to match my money. I didn't get any redundancy because I'd gone and been a manager somewhere else, then came back. So I was under the 2-year rule. I said, it's going to be fine. But then when I went for training, they said to me, you've got to go down to unqualified teacher salary, which is 15,000. I'd met
Mm.
my husband by then, but it was that shock of like, I've chosen this career. I've given up my other career. Obviously, I was going to be made redundant, but I could have, stayed in that career. I've started a whole new career. And this was like 27 I was. And now I might not be able to afford my mortgage, this precious, beautiful little
Yeah.
flat that's like, but luckily my husband was going to stick around. So I moved in with him. I rented out my flat and we just made it work. And we were so, but again, I feel like all of these moments of like having no money, but I'm going to correct that, having less money than I wanted. I had my group program this morning actually, and one of the clients was saying, we grew up with no money. I said, but did you have a roof over your head? Did you have a car? Did you have clothes? Did you have food? Because I mean, I came from real poverty, but we still had
Mm.
some money because I didn't
Yes.
starve. So there's like we had a lot less money than we wanted, and we
Wanted.
had a
Yeah.
lot less money than we needed to thrive, but we did survive. So when I think of these situations, it's like we had less money than we wanted, but we could survive. And I'm really grateful for those moments now. It's taken a lot of work because, with money journeys, I was so held back by all these money stories because of that feeling of lack, like it's going to run out. And then just realizing that I am so resourceful because of those times, like
Yeah.
having the experience of losing everything, being homeless, not having a stable foundation with my family, all of that. I can basically survive anything. Like throw it at me. But
Absolutely.
it makes me so risky. And I love that because it makes me feel more powerful and confident as a CEO. Because I'm like, yeah, let's risk it for a biscuit. What's the worst going to happen? That I'm going to lose a house. Oh, I've done that. That's fine. I will go and live in a 1-bedroom bedsit. I'll be fine. I'll survive. All of this extra is just amazing. And it's not, and also controlling the fact that I choose to live in this house and I choose to prioritize spending my money on my mortgage.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean I haven't got any money. Some months might be a bit tighter than others, but that's because of the choices I've made about how to spend my money, not because it's not coming in or not because it's not there.
And that is such a good thing to get people to understand.
Yeah.
Um, you can have, and this is the thing, like, and there are lots of people who earn lots of money and they still come out of the end of the month being like, where's my money gone? It's
Yeah.
because of the decisions that you're making. So if you've got income coming in, then it's about looking at what you're spending it on and
Mm,
analyzing that spend, analyzing the reason why you spend that money.
mm,
And that's ultimately, I know that I am super guilty, especially with, I've always been very, very open about the fact that ADHD has led to me having a spending addiction. I have that in my business and in my personal life. I'm a course junkie. It took me until a year ago for me to go, stop it, Maddie. You've spent 20 grand in the last year on courses. And yes, you might be more intelligent, but could you have learnt those things off YouTube? Probably. And it took me a really long time to actually realize that I was spending money on things for personal development because that was my goal. But actually, I was developing as a person anyway through the things I was learning in my business. I didn't
Mm,
necessarily need to have done all those courses.
mm,
So it's very, very interesting thinking about it from that perspective. So I really
mm.
like that.
Yeah.
So what led you then to the point where you decided to be doing the confidence coaching and the what was self-belief
Oh yeah.
coaching? That's,
So
yeah.
I was throughout my career, so starting working with adults with learning disabilities when I was like 16 to now, so that's like 23 years. I have always supported people to become better versions of themselves, whether
Mm,
they have a learning disability or they have they're a vulnerable child or disadvantaged or they're living on the streets or whatever. Every single thing, when I was an assistant head, I mentored student teachers, so again supporting them and bringing them up and lifting them up into the teacher they wanted to be that whole time, and being a manager, developing staff. It was all about supporting people to be the best versions of themselves. So when I left, so I had my little boy in 2018, and I hadn't really been very creative since collapsing down Violet and May, which was about 2000. Well, actually, it was when I became a teacher, so 2012. So it was about 6 years. I hadn't really made anything. And talking about earlier when I was a little child, I was making things out of paper all the time. It was a
yeah.
very conscious thing that when my dad passed away, because my mum was pregnant with my brother, my dad passed away, I picked up a doll and was like, well, I've got to get practice for this baby. And I became a young carer because my mum had some mental health issues as well. So there was like, I was the eldest. I had three younger siblings and a mum that wasn't very well. I needed to step up. Even at 9 years old, it was, I just became a young carer. That's what happens with being a young carer.
Mm,
Um, so I'd done all of that and I was just like looking after people. But this creative part of me was always there, but it sort of never had time to like shine. Never had the
mm,
opportunity because there was always another priority that had to come first. So when I had Jackson, I remember very vividly, it was about 5 years ago, near enough to the day, of having this idea of I've got some wire somewhere, and I might have seen a picture of wire art somewhere or wire words. I was like, I've got some wire, and because I'd made all the stuff for my wedding as well. I was like, okay, I'm going to go and get it out. And I remember this just buzz. It was like all of the cells in my body were dancing, of
oh, I
going,
love it.
oh my God, I'm creating. I'm creating. And then very quickly, like I've got a lot of symptoms of ADHD, but not actual ADHD. It's just like trauma based. So I immediately was
Do you
addicted.
know that for a fact though?
Well, there are some things that when you do the list, there's some things that I'm not got ADHD, but I've got a master's in trauma informed education, and there's a
Okay,
lot of parallels with toxic toxic stress when you're a child and how your brain develops. And because of the trauma I
interesting.
experienced, my brain's just was developed in a different way. So there's lots of similarities, but not exactly. It's because as well of the trauma that I experienced. But anyway, I was very addicted to this wire art, and I do get addicted to everything like olives. Olives sometimes I have or gherkins, like weird food
Oh,
things I get addicted to. Songs,
yeah, yeah.
So I was massively straight away. Every time Jackson slept, I was making. So straight, and then somebody said to me, "You can make a business out of this," and I was like, "Yeah, really?" Found that other people doing it. Vivid Wire was born. And I remember very vivid is one of my favorite words. I was sitting at these traffic lights thinking, wouldn't it be great if I had a business called Vivid something? Because my maiden name is Vidler and everybody
Okay.
calls me Vid. Like all my friends call me Vid. Hardly anyone calls me Claire. It's like literally just my husband
Ah,
and in work life. So I thought, how cool if I have a business with Vivid in it and it's like got my name in it. So
yeah,
Vivid Wire was born and I kept it quiet. I went back to work. I worked full time. So I can't believe I did this. So when I went back to work when Jackson was just under a year, I was still breastfeeding him morning and evening. I was
mm,
running the business. So I was getting up at 4 to doing orders before he woke up. I went back to work full time, 5 days a week, teaching maths, assistant head. I was also doing a master's degree. Off
wow,
my head, off my head. So, funnily enough, I got quite burnt out because I was doing too much and I didn't understand what I do now. And then COVID hit. So, my business had this surge of income, but it was doing well. And I had my best month in Vivid Wire just before COVID. It was like the January. I was like, what is going on here? Like my turnover was, I think it was about 2.5 grand that month. And I was like, okay, this might have legs. Like I'm only putting 10% of my energy into this business and I'm already turning over 2.5 grand. Profit margins are really good. This could be something. So I went and I actually ended up getting another job, and I was going to leave, but it turned out it wasn't going to be very good. I went for another job and I was like, shit, I've given him my notice a bit from leaving this school, got no job. And then Dan was like, well, you do have Vivid Wire. And I was like, what? All my dreams are going to come true. I'm going to become self-employed again. This was the second time I'd done it because of Violet and May, but I was like, am I going to do it? And I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. So I went full time, and it was such a crash because my whole life was dictated by timetables, the pips going off. I had all these meetings. I had so much structure. Being an assistant head it was like 1,400 kids in this school, 200 members of staff, massive school, to be working in a little spare bedroom. It was just like, from that, the business kept going. And because it was that 2020 year, I was inundated with orders. It was amazing, like financially, probably not for health, because again, I was just really pushing myself. But it was going well. And then again, the following January came. So I'd been self-employed for about 6 months, and I just felt so lost, so down. I didn't have any clarity. What was I doing with this business? I had no energy, no motivation. I was incredibly lonely. And this is where this idea of warrior energy came from. So I just worked out this formula of doing certain things in the same certain order and giving myself a bit of routine really supported my mental health. So I had to walk every day. I had to listen to the same songs in the same order, which got me programmed for work. So it was like a virtual commute.
How have you not got ADHD?
Mate, I did lots of writing.
Yeah.
And then I was ready to start my working day. And I felt so good about it that I just started talking about it on Vivid Wire Instagram. And Vivid Wire's got about like 17,000 followers. So I had a nice presence on there, lots of orders, and people started talking to me. Small business owners were watching, because you all follow each other, don't you?
Yeah.
Then I started talking about these tips about timing myself, 1% factor. So it's like this trick I play on my brain to get me started on stuff. Pomodoro technique, which I've used since I was, I would say probably 15 years I've used Pomodoro technique, because it just works so well for me. Do you know what it is?
No, I've never heard of it. And also I want to know about this, like this 1% thing and the getting started, because I feel like our audience, who are mainly neurodivergent, will probably love you for this.
Well, this is where, so when inside the Vivid Business Club, these are all tools that everybody uses, because what I attract is other people with either, a lot of members have got ADHD, or they've experienced some kind of trauma as well. So they've had traumatic episodes, which again has changed how they view things. So it's neurodivergent from all aspects coming to the Vivid Business Club, because these tools really work. So Pomodoro technique was created by someone called Franco Pomodoro, I think. No, not Franco Pomodoro. That's wrong. I've forgotten his name. Do you know, I always forget his name, poor bloke, because I literally talk about the Pomodoro technique all the time. But it's all based on the fact that
You're going to Google it while you're talking.
Brilliant. Pomodoro is Italian for tomato, and it's all based on the fact that he used to use his mum's cooking timer that was in the shape of a tomato. And he did this research that you can't concentrate, even if you don't have ADHD, you cannot concentrate efficiently for more than 25 minutes. So he set up this thing where you do focus for 25 minutes, break for 5 minutes. You do that 4 times, and then you have a big break. I used it in teaching because I just used the principle of every 5 minutes of concentration, you get a 1 minute break. So if you've got a class of 14-year-old boys and you've got to teach them algebra on the last lesson on a Friday, you've got to pull all the tools out. So I used to do this thing where I'd be like, right, 5 minutes of this, 1 minute break, 5 minutes this, and it works so well because they knew they just had to focus for 5 minutes, then 1 minute. So some of my client was working on something really tough, like, because we find with face resistance, if we're doing something out of our comfort zone, we're going to resist it anyway. And I self-sabotage by just going, oh my God, I just don't want to do this. This is so, oh my God, what am I doing? I don't want to do this big piece of work that's going to make me loads of money, like, because it's so difficult, blah, blah, blah.
Mate, tell me about it. I'm in the middle of writing a grant application.
Yeah.
And like, to be fair, like me and Vic sat down this morning and we did it together on a Zoom. So it was like body doubling. So that we got loads done. But I've been
Yeah.
procrastinating about it all week because it's so massive.
Yeah.
And you don't think about the fact that actually there's 50 questions. I could be doing 10 minutes on each question, and that's what we did this morning. And it was so
Yeah.
good. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
There's fear of success as well that's playing into that, because what if you do get the grant? What if you
I
do become as
know.
successful as you want to be? So there's all of this resistance we face. And so you set a task for this Pomodoro, you put a timer on for 25 minutes, and then you have a 5-minute break, and you just do that. There's loads of apps out there that do it for you, so you don't even have to worry about the timer. And mine's going all the time. The 1% factor, so talking about your grant, what you do is you put a timer on for 2 minutes. You can even do 1. You do not ask yourself more than 2 minutes. But the 1% factor is based on Newton's law of motion, that you need more energy to get things going than when it's actually going. So
Yeah.
1% of something actually takes a lot more energy than if you're moving from like 10 to 20%. So you put a timer on for 2 minutes and you get started. And then when that timer goes off, you see how you feel. Your attitude to that piece of work is going to feel so much better because you've got it started. You've got skin in the game. Another thing that we do inside of a business club, exactly what you've described, we've got our co-working space, online co-working space. It's open 24/7 and people go on there. They don't have to even have their camera on, and most people do, but you just walk in, but you go into this virtual room on Zoom and you just see all these people working all the time, and it makes you more motivated. And so that's another thing we do. But yeah, timers are just so key. If I'm feeling a bit crap about something, like I don't want to do it, it's always the big things that are actually going to move the business forward. Usually I just put a timer on for 2 minutes, but my self-sabotage turns up like, I'm really tired, I'm yawning, I'm hungry. But really it's my imposter syndrome, my doubt, my critical voice going, we don't really want to do this, do we? Let's stay safe and, small. Come on, let's not do this big stuff.
It's so interesting because like I think there's been a lot of those things that have gone through my mind when we've been doing this grant application. It's like it's a big grant application. We could potentially walk away with like life-changing money, completely like overhaul the Mad About Money app and make it exactly how we want it. And we could go out there and completely smash it. And I really want to do that. But I think there's a certain element of me of going, but then you're going to be massive and people are going to have bigger expectations and they're going to want more from you. And I'm like, oh, but that's really scary. But it needs to be done and we're going to go and do it and we're going to go smash it. And, this morning, both Vix and I turned up to the call and we were like, shall we delay it and shall we apply next time? And then we were like, no, fuck it. We're going to go for it. We're going to go for it. We're just going to ask for a week's extension and we're going to hyper focus and we're going to get shit done. And it's quite exciting now. Like both of us are like, yes, let's go and do this. And there's always that tiny little element that holds you back. So anyway, tell us a little bit about Vivid Business Club because I think it sounds really cool.
So yeah, it's just a membership for business owners that there's nothing really like it, but there's a lot similar. I'd been part of a membership that, and I've been part of a few, but I was part of one and I just felt so inadequate. It just wasn't run in a way that lifted people up. There was quite a lot of clicks in it. And if from people that said that they were really inclusive, but you had to be exactly like them to be included, which is not my bag. Like I literally am like anybody is welcome. And it's just all about ambitious entrepreneurial women who have got more to give and they just sometimes just don't know how to find it. It's all about possibility. So what do you believe is possible, but what do you want to believe is possible for you and how you do that? I find the community is very powerful inside the Vivid Business Club because everybody is prepared. They've got the tools to reframe. So if someone's having a really challenging time, people can help them, might not only lifting them up, giving them solutions, but by reminding them that you've got this because you've already got the tools. wouldn't be able to deal with this if not, like, et cetera, et cetera. If there's a business in there that hasn't got any sales at the moment, or maybe their sales are less than they want them to be, a lot of the time, and I mean, I will say stuff, but now we've got to the point where the members just talk like they're me already. Like they come out, they say, "Are you Claire hearing me?" Like, and they talk to each other about it. But I'll just be like, "But you've been given this time to work on the CEO aspect of your business that you've probably been neglecting. Like, how is your money going? What's your profit margin? Where can you cut costs? Where can you invest? What are the gaps that you feel like? What's your doubt saying to you that you're not doing a good enough job at the moment? How can we, grow those parts of you? This is your opportunity, because when we're really busy, we just don't get that opportunity. It's very much a focus of, if people around you aren't taking your business seriously, it's because you're not taking your business seriously. We do not use the term small business owner, because I feel like that encourages people to think small.
Think small, it
Even
does,
if
yeah.
you're a small business owner, so I often use entrepreneurs instead of small business owners. And it's all about focusing on the power of you as the magic. How can we amplify that in your business? How can that help you make more money? But being the CEO, being that
Yeah.
person that is going to make the big decisions, not choose the path of least resistance, choosing those paths that are going to get to where they want to be in the end, not what they want right now. And we do that by having, co-working time for just doing CEO stuff, which I help them with. We've got, I developed a new planning model called the Thirds planning model, where we don't plan from January to December. We plan from September to September, which really supports people that if they've got, they don't have to have kids, but if they've got kids, it works in line with the school academic year.
Yeah.
We're all programmed that way anyway. But I find that in August, I have time to reflect. Things feel a bit quieter. So I can think, well, where do I want to be in this time next year? If I'm doing that in the weird bit between December and January, I've got my face stuffed with chocolate and cheese. Like, I don't really care
Absolutely.
about my goals for 2024 right then. But in August, I feel like I can really plan. So we work in thirds instead of quarters. So people feel like they've got more time to get things done. We set bold goals, which are often very financial, but are big. And we go from goals are fuel, dreams are fuel. They're not the destination. And then we slim that down, and we have like halfway between, we have clarity objectives. They're more qualitative. So what are you going to be working on? I want you to have like one thing you're working on in the next 6 weeks. And then every Monday, they have a focus for the week. So it's a very, very simple model, incredibly effective, because I'm like, what's your focus for this week? They know exactly what it is. It links to their clarity objective, which links to their bold goals. And you've got members in the group that halfway between, they were like, I've already got my bold goal. So they've done what they wanted to do in 4 months, in 2 months, because I'm like, well, you need to tweak that bold goal then, don't you? Because you weren't aiming high enough. So it's all about this, not limiting themselves. There's no ceiling. There's like, anybody that comes to a group session with an idea, I'm like, yeah, come on then. What are we going to do? Like, this is possible. We've got people in there that are like, I want to get on Saturday Kitchen. I want to have books published. I want to do big TED Talks. I want to, basically conquer the world. I want to do, I'm like, yeah,
And
you
that's the
can.
difference. That is so the difference between a small business owner and an entrepreneur. It's a mindset.
Absolutely.
It's just a
Yeah.
mindset thing. Are you thinking too big? Are you thinking too small? I would
Yeah.
much rather think too big than think too small. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so
But and that's where the doubt work comes in. It's all about self-belief, but that's where the doubt work comes in with the way I support the members and my clients, because when you are faced with a big dream, straight away your doubt will go, well, you can't do that because, okay, what's your doubt saying? Let's listen to that little bastard in the corner, because we
yeah,
need to make friends with it. We need to have a grip on it. We can't push it down, because you're not inadequate for having doubts. It's there to like guide and support you, but it's just having an awareness that those doubts can actually make you a really better person, like a better business owner, in the fact that if I'm having a doubt about some area of my business, that's because I know it can be better in a certain way. What's the plan to make it better?
and do you know what? It's so weird that you said that. So I procrastinated over doing my TikTok coaching for about 7 months. And the reason I did was because so many people were like, oh, the Chinese government, they're stealing our data, they're going to shut TikTok down. And I was so worried about starting my TikTok training business because in my head, I thought, I don't want to fail again. I don't want to do something and go and learn everything I can about one subject and be really bloody good at it. And then go out and then have my feet dragged from it, like have the mat dragged from
Yeah.
under me. So I stopped and stopped and stopped. And I listened to everybody. Like I listened to the people who, like, whenever I posted on LinkedIn about it, the people who were like, oh, I'm not on TikTok, it's rubbish. No, 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 no. And I thought about the 1.9 billion people that are on TikTok who fucking love it. And I
Yeah.
thought, Maddie, you're being a twat.
Yeah.
and and like I started my TikTok coaching now 3 months ago. And every course that I've run, I have sold out. The reviews have been incredible. People see me now as an expert in TikTok. They like what I do. And I'm like, what the hell, Maddie? Why did you not start this before?
Mm.
And it was because of that. It was because of the fact that I I had some form of doubt in my mind that I
Mm.
was going to be the person that people would listen to on this subject.
Mm.
And I also had in my mind, like, but people know you as the money lady. That's what they know you as. They know you as the person that helps people to save money. Well, do you know what? Damn right now, they're going to know me as the person that helps them to make money as well. So yeah, it was a weird
Mm.
mindset shift, but that's exactly what it was. So yeah, very
Yeah.
excited.
But a couple of things there though. If you name that doubt, so mine's called Clara. When
Ooh,
she's spouting, I can be like, "Shut up, Clara," or what you got to say," and you separate yourself from it because that voice is not the CEO of your business. It's the same voice that makes you snooze the alarm. It's that voice that is not got your best interests of how you grow. It's how you're keeping yourself safe. And obviously, the same as me, you will have that ability of like, safety is misery, safety is insecurity, because that's what's familiar to me, when actually
yeah.
it's the other side of it. But
Where did
also,
Clara come from?
oh, my mum used to call me Clara as like an,
Oh,
yeah,
I like it. Yeah.
yeah. So it's a name that's like yours, or it's a name like all the Vivid Business Net members have named theirs. So they'll
But
go,
Madeline, to be fair, Madeline's boring. So, like, maybe it should be Madeline because Madeline's
there you
boring and
go.
Madeline holds me back. So, yeah.
Yeah. So then you can be like, oh, shush, Madeline. But they will say, like, Doris is being a bit of a shitter today. And we all know that that means that that part of your thoughts are being really
Yeah.
loud. But also, when you were saying, like, why is it taking you so long? You're exactly where you should be. I think
I'm
when
gonna
when you just take a deep breath and go, everything is happening exactly as it should. Like, there was no pressure. And, every mistake or failure isn't even that, because it's exactly where you should be. It's only in
Mm,
hindsight when you look back and you think, oh my God, I'm so grateful that all that shit happened. I mean, I don't have, like, the biggest thing for me, mindset wise, is that if I can't have a good relationship with my mum, right? It's not a great relationship. If she can't love me, how the hell can I make this? How the hell can I do all of this amazing stuff? And then I just think, no, I'm grateful, because if I wouldn't be here doing that stuff without that, that's
but
made
the
me the
thing,
woman I am.
but the thing is, like, at the beginning of this podcast, you said, I don't believe in failure. I 100% believe in failure because I feel like it's the thing that we need to do to get us to the place where we've learned all the lessons.
Mm,
So it's very important. But
yeah, yeah.
Claire, it's been absolutely amazing to have you on. I've learned loads. I've got loads of little ticks, like tricks and tips up my sleeve now, especially for managing that whole like imposter syndrome and doubty person. In fact, I'm going to call her Louise, I think, because my middle
Yeah,
name's Louise. I've always hated it. And I feel
there you
like
go.
Louise is like a bit of a, sorry to anyone who's called Louise. I, I'm sure it suits you. But yeah, I think that's what I'm going to call her.
Brilliant.
Anyway, where can people find you? What's the best place to get in contact?
I love Instagram. I really do. So I am usually hanging out there. My handle is I am Claire Hill. I'm also on LinkedIn and I'm loving it over there. I need to
Mm.
tart up my profile though, so it's going to look a bit better soon. But again, I'm Claire Hill over there. And yeah, that's where I mainly hang out. That's where I do lots of stuff. But yeah.
Brilliant. I think we're going to get
Oh,
you
I've
on
got a
again.
podcast as well that you've been on. I
I
should say
have been
that.
on it and it was
Yeah.
amazing.
My podcast is called No Rest for the Vivid. So if you're vivid, there's lots. I mean, we're 180 odd episodes deep, so lots to binge over there.
That is a lot of episodes. Like, I mean, I'm just coming
Yeah.
up to, I think, my like 35th, 30, like 40th, maybe. I don't know where I'm at. Like, I've lost track now, but I am so excited about getting this one out because I think it's going to be so useful. I think it's like a must
Oh,
listen
thank you.
for the year. So I think actually you might be my last person of the year. So
Oh,
hmm.
wonderful.
It's all good.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for coming on. For anybody who's listening to this on Spotify or Apple Music or YouTube, you're technically in the wrong place. You should be watching it in the Mad About Money app because you can watch the video, you can listen to it, and also you can get all of the amazing tips on how to save money, spend less, make more. So make sure you go and download the Mad About Money app. I'm Maddy Alexander-Grout. You can find me on LinkedIn and basically anywhere, but Mad About Money, just search for it and I'm there. And we'll see you next time.